welcome to my vagina. I'm Jessy Karen.
Hi, I'm Rebekah. And here, that wasn't good. Whoopsies.
Actually, I'm probably going to wind up using that, but we'll do it again anyway. Welcome to my vagina. I'm Jessy Karen.
Hi, I'm Rebekah Frank. Here we are again, having our current, historical, hysterical, infuriating conversation about our lives as vagina-having organisms.
All content made up on the spot, but probably researched. Just kidding. Definitely researched. But I maintain all jokes will conclude with queef. Welcome to my vagina. So, I guess it was a few weeks ago, a regular sat at my bar and was aghast when I told him the name of my web series.
Pearl Clutcher.
/ podcast. Now I'm visualizing him clutching his pearls.
So
oh my. Anyway, I guess he'd had like a couple of drinks and he straight out told me I could not call it that. To which I replied, I can call it whatever I want to.
And in fact, I do already.
Because it's my show. And he continued to express his discomfort over the quote-unquote hot word, saying that the title was quote-unquote crude and that I should be more quote-unquote subtle.
I'm still confused by hot word. This has been a thing.
I was like, a buzzword? Thank you.
Yeah, I was like, if you're gonna have criticisms, at least get your fucking wording right. It fucking says hot word. I'm upset by your hot word.
I explained to him that it was not meant to be subtle. It was meant to be jarring, to create a discussion, and that the word vagina was not crude, nor is it a hot word, and that his blatant disapproval of the title of my show did not matter to me. If it didn't matter to me that my ex-boyfriend didn't approve, and it, no offense to my mom, but really I've gotten over her disapproval of it, then your opinion certainly doesn't matter to me.
Right. And at this point, it's like what? Does he think, this is the thing that always makes me laugh. It's like, so this dude comes up to you, right? You've been doing this show for 5 years. Is that right?
The 6th of February, 2014 was our first episode.
Cool. So almost 4 years. And he thinks that like you, first of all, that you haven't heard people's complaints before, or that he's going to say this. And you're like, oh, you know what? You're right. Let me go change it because you don't like it. It's
right.
Like the fucking post office guy who came to my house, read my last name off, and then couldn't figure out my first name. And I was like, it's Rebekah. And he's like, well, phonetically. And I was like, no, actually, it's actually Rebekah. That's my name.
It was kind of a liberating moment for me because I've struggled with this on and off over the past few years. I've stopped doing it because of people's opinions or loved ones not necessarily being fully behind it. You know, even though I have a ton of people who are so proud of me for it. But and like
those other ones, they stick out.
But yeah, it's so crazy because I could have like 15 of my friends who I love dearly and I respect their opinion, and they could be like, Jess, what you're doing is badass. It's great. I want to attach my name to it. And then this one person who doesn't even want to bring up the name of my web series that I care about and love, and it topples everything over. And it's kind of insidious because it just, works itself into you, and it bores into you, and you just start giving up on yourself and it. That was deep. But, I have struggled with it in the past, and occasionally I still have those moments where I'm like, what am I doing? This was so liberating because it was the first time that I was like, oh, not only does your opinion not matter to me at all, but it only reinforces my enthusiasm for this project. It was funny because I expressed my intention of educating people through laughter. He said I was doomed.
What a shithead.
And I kind of started laughing, but I also felt super powerful because his words meant absolutely nothing to me. I was like, that didn't hurt at all. That has not happened to me in 4 years.
Yeah. I mean, I think this shit isn't easy, talking about this kind of stuff and knowing that people don't don't understand it, don't believe in it, don't care, are offended by it, you know, all this kind of stuff that women should dare have an opinion and dare put their opinions out there and do so in a creative manner, you know, all this kind of stuff.
And be offended just by the word vulva or vagina, anatomical structures.
It's insane. I mean, our society is so fucking puritanical. It's wild. But I mean, here's the thing. Because I've had the same a similar struggle with my blog where I haven't been writing on it recently for different reasons, but in general, there have been times when people have criticized me and it, you know, makes me think about stuff. I'm thinking about all the people that are reading it. Am I making myself unsafe in some way? Am I doing things that are inappropriate? Yeah. Like all of this kind of stuff that you really think about.
I'm sorry. That was a poor time to smell my armpit.
How did it smell in there?
Right? I just got a whiff.
Oh, you did. It might be me.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's okay.
But
it's real, you know, like it's really hard to every day, you know, to have criticism come at you. It's like walking into fucking headwind.
The thing that I've also found interesting was here was a man who had not asked me a single question about what the project entailed and telling me that I should soften myself, of course, because I'm a woman, and be less offensive in order to be more digestible. And I do wonder, like, would he have said that to a guy?
I mean, yeah, it's a good question. I mean, he might have thought it, but I doubt he would have said it because I don't think that men feel quite as entitled to the space that they take up when other men are around,
right,
as they do in front of women.
So what happened basically is that he came in the next week and he had watched some of my episodes and he was like, they were really good.
There's a lot to be said, and I think that this is one of the most important things, you know, like you and I are sitting here having these conversations about things that we talk about anyway, but we're still, you know, we're learning so much stuff. And I think what we're really hoping for is an open mind and conversations like that. That maybe someone's going to be like, you know what, I don't care about what you have to say. But then they're big enough to take the time to actually listen, take a step back, admit a mistake, and realize that like they don't have the corner on everything.
Totally.
And it's really fucking awesome.
It was such an amazing moment.
Guy.
What?
Yeah, I said hats off to that guy and to you.
Yeah, no,
you know?
Tiny applause.
Yeah.
I never thought a tampon could be so great until I learned about Rely.
A tampon this great is worth finding out about. Remember, they named it Rely.
Listen to me.
All right, so we're going to talk about tampon taxes, which our research has shown us is actually a misnomer. I really love researching. Like
I could tell.
I know. I was like, I'm sending you emails, and they're like fucking 2,000 word documents about some bullshit.
But they're beautiful, and I was like looking at them, and I honestly didn't even want to send you mine because it's how my brain works, and it's chaos. But yours is like there's bold and italics and bullet points, and it's beautiful to look at.
But there's bullet points that say arguments for the tax, blah blah blah, misogyny. A tampon tax is actually, we always talk about it as a tampon tax. I think, you know, words kind of matter a little bit. So it's probably a little bit problematic that we call it a tampon tax when actually it's really just a general sales tax. So what we really need to actually talk about is
whether it's a luxury tax or whether it's, or as you said, and what I've learned, between progressive and regressive taxes.
Yeah, I did a lot of research on tax policy. Like tampon tax sounds like a thing people can rally behind, you know, is like a thing that's like, yeah, fuck that shit. And honestly, fuck that shit, because we shouldn't have a tax on it because we have to have them. But one of the kind of counterpoints that's always brought up is, oh, well, you know, men don't pay taxes on Viagra and women pay taxes on tampons, and this is a gender issue because men should pay taxes on Viagra. And while in like short, I kind of get that, but
it's more complicated than that.
It's way more complicated than that. And so that's why this is a super important thing to talk about. So what we're really going to talk about is the idea of like luxury goods versus necessities. What items are excluded from sales tax? So we found agricultural items, pharmaceuticals, food, sometimes clothes.
You need it. You depend on it.
Right. So we're talking about the things that are kind of life or death. And so, I mean, as women sitting here right now, I can say that any sort of menstrual products absolutely crucial to my ability to go about my day when I'm fucking bleeding.
Well, here's the thing that I find hilarious is that men don't want to know about it. They don't want to see it. But if we don't have these things, I'd be walking around with a giant red river on my back.
Right.
So on my ass, not my back.
I mean, it might go up there.
That would be a pretty good
If you were
Houdini
doing
trick if I could squirt it out the back.
Or maybe you were doing handstands. You could have been. You know?
That's what I feel like doing when I'm menstruating is
right.
handstands.
Inversions.
Cartwheels. Just like an abstract fucking painting all over me. I tie-dye.
Yeah, and I mean, we know that men don't want to see that because, and I wish we'll have to look up her name, but there's an artist who posted a photo on Instagram of she woke up one morning and she, I guess, either her period had started or she leaked through, you know, the tampon or pad or whatever she was using, and there was a very like small blood stain. Mm-hmm. And Instagram took it down 3 times because it violated their, you know, terms of, you know, service or whatever. And it was because there was this. It's because talking about menstruation is so taboo, and yet
it's blood.
It's blood.
It's blood.
And granted, sometimes it's chunky, but still.
But it's not
blood.
a big deal. I mean, I've seen pictures of people putting, you know, if you got a bad cut or
yeah, or like popping shit. You know, like there's a whole thing. You can go down a YouTube fucking rabbit hole of people like squeezing infections out of their fingers for hours.
Did you see the guy who folded up his nose and 100 pimples popped?
Stop.
Or not pimples, the blackheads. Really rough. I don't know why I watched it.
But the point is that stuff is readily available and does not violate any sort of terms of service or user agreement. And yet like a small bit of menstrual blood that you honestly wouldn't even notice upon looking at the photo initially is so problematic that it got pulled down 3 times, and she had to actually write letters to Instagram to get them to put the photo back up. And she had to explain why this is not, why there's nothing wrong with it.
Do you know what her explanation was?
She said it was a natural process.
Right.
And, you know, it's not, there's nothing taboo. All women bleed. And so
why it is taboo. It should not be taboo.
Right. It should not be taboo. Yeah. So the other thing too about this, because, you know, if we're going to make it is a gendered issue, because you think about it and, you know, how often do we see things on television, like in movies or whatever, about like the woman asking the man, or conversations that we have about like a girlfriend or whatever asking her boyfriend or friend to pick up tampons at the store.
And they're like, oh God, no.
Yeah. And it's like, so like we bear the brunt of it. And so in New York State alone, getting rid of sales tax on tampons and other menstrual products, which New York did do, cost the state $10 million in income in 1 year. But
it went back into the pockets of the women who were buying tampons.
Exactly. And so there is a big loss there. But I mean, I'm pretty sure, if anything that I know about economics is correct, that when you give people more spending money, the economy does better. And specifically, women spend money more responsibly than men. Mm-hmm. And so you give women money and things go better.
I wish my eye roll made a sound.
I know.
I just remember I don't anymore. Now when I walk in, I'm like, I'll have the tampons, please.
Yeah.
But when I was a kid, I would be like, can I? You know, when you have to go in there and you buy like chips and cookies and
you like put it underneath.
And you put it underneath of everything, and you're just like, please don't show. Please don't let my crush show up right now.
And you really don't want like the one dude that's at the checkout counter to be your checkout person, and he always is.
You look for the female person, which is so ridiculous, because that's how shameful it is that, and this happens to us every single month.
Yeah.
And again, I don't want this to happen, but it does, and it's normal, and it's natural, and it happens to half the population.
Yeah. Like I went into a CVS a couple of weeks ago, and I, you know, didn't have everything that I needed. I was in a rush. I was going up to Maine, and I go in and I bought tampons, and I had to use the self-service checkout thing, which, you know, is a conversation for another day. I hate that checkout thing. But there was a lady there that had to keep an eye on all of the checkouts. And so I had a bag with like, you know, 3 different types of tampons because I have a really heavy period, and the Ultra that I need doesn't come in a variety pack. So I have to buy the Ultra as its own type and then the other things separately. So, you know, right there, that's $18 easy. So anyway, I like buy all of these things, and I have like a fucking like Santa Claus sized bag of tampons like slung over my shoulder. And I looked at the lady and I was like, do you guys have a bathroom that I can use? And she had seen me buy all of this stuff. And she just looked at me and she's like, we don't have one for customers, but are you having an emergency? And I was like, I am. And she was like...
Mutual acknowledgement of what is happening.
Yeah. And so she couldn't abandon her station. And so there was like another dude working at the CVS. And she was like, can you show this lady the bathroom? And he was like, but there aren't bathrooms for customers. And she was like, it's an emergency. And he was like, yeah, but. And she was like,
suck a dick.
She goes, it's an emergency. And she was this like 65-year-old little lady. And she put like the fear of God in him. You know, she was like, it is an emergency. And he was her manager. And he was like, okay.
If men bled out of their penises, there would be male pads delivered to their houses.
There would actually be public restrooms in this city.
There would
everywhere.
be public restrooms. They wouldn't even need pads because there would be so much research on how better to accommodate them on this monthly thing that pads would be non-existent. Diva Cups just came out. Tampons were designed by a man.
Yeah.
And you know, thank you, kind of, because it was better than tying up a sheet around my fucking crotch. But the thing is it was not designed for a woman.
Right.
And I think there needs to be more addressed on, like, because Diva Cups are already like a huge fucking upgrade.
Yeah.
Environmentally, for our bodies, we're not putting any unnatural chemicals in our, you know, we can't get TSS from it.
Yeah.
I just think if men bled from their penises, I just want it to happen for like 6 months.
Yeah, it would be really nice.
I want it to happen for 6 months just so they know.
Yeah, what it's like. I mean, didn't they try to make dudes have to? Oh no, it was.
No, they did.
Did.
They tried to simulate cramps on men,
right,
through like tiny electric shocks, which is still not what it is, but it's
whatever. It's as close as they're going to
experience, and it's the best you can get. And they could barely handle it. It was really funny to watch them rip the fucking things off of them because they would just do it intermittently.
Yeah,
and the men would like grab the wires and pull them off and be like, I don't understand.
Yeah, no, it's terrible.
But they also did a thing where, and I could be wrong, for like a week they tried to simulate bleeding. Mm-hmm. I think it might have been BuzzFeed, and they again freaked out and were like, it went through the pad and it got on my
I ruined my underwear,
ruined my pants, and you're like, welcome to the world, bitch.
Yeah, like I mean, you know, I would love to just make a list of the things that I've ruined. You know, a plane seat, the front seat of my mom's car. You know, how many fucking mattresses that in the middle of the night I've had to rip the sheets off and scrub the mattress to try and get the blood off before it seeped in. Like, it's like
I got my period while I was like dating. Dating's a big word. And he was passed out, and I remember waking up, and you do that pat down, you're like, fuck, you can feel it.
Yep.
You can feel it like dripping down your leg, and you're like, it's gonna touch. And I like,
she's gonna blow.
And I looked down, and there was already like a little vulva stain of blood. And I got up and I went downstairs, and I still to this day don't know why he didn't wake up through this whole thing, or maybe he was pretending like it wasn't happening.
Right.
But I went and got a washcloth and like soap and sat there and rubbed it out.
Yeah, exactly. I think that while we're on this, it's an important thing to note that, so we were talking a little bit earlier about like progressive and regressive taxes. A progressive tax is dependent on the income. So like an income tax, dependent on how much you make, that's what, you know, so it'll be a relatively higher percentage of your income that comes out, versus a regressive tax is across the board. It's the same. So it doesn't matter if you're fucking Bill Gates or us, you still pay the same sales tax on certain items.
Right.
So one of the things that's always really important to look at is if we're talking about percentages and we're talking about relative effects, is who is more affected by these taxes. And
women.
We're looking at women, but we're also looking at low-income women, women of color, stuff like that. And it's really important to just remember that all of these different institutionalized issues, these different racist structures that we have, just all kinds of structural inequalities, all of these taxes fit into that. And so when we're talking about getting rid of a tax on tampons, it might not matter so much to, you know, all of the white women or wealthy women or whatever.
But it matters a lot to low-income houses.
Yeah, because you think about it and you're just like, okay, well, for some people, like an extra $1.88, whatever it is nothing. You don't even notice it. But when you're on a really, really tight budget, maybe
that's
you've
food.
got kids, like, yeah, that's the difference between paying a bill and not.
Right.
And that's a thing that really matters, because we're having all of these different conversations right now about the way that our government functions and what kind of social safety net, if any, we want to have. And so right now, especially, it's important to put as much money back in the pockets of women and low-income women specifically as we possibly can, because a lot of the things that people have relied on for a really long time are kind of on the chopping block right now. And to me, this is a really obvious and easy way. Like, yeah, it's $10 million in state revenue in New York, and it's more in California. We have that number down here somewhere, more. But sure, that's a lot of money, but it can be pulled from somewhere else. And I don't think that overburdening
Easily pulled from somewhere else.
Yeah, I don't think that
not that
overburdening. I know, right? We're just like, do it.
Just do it. Just why don't you do it?
Yeah, just like overburdening low-income women who don't have a voice because they don't fucking have time,
right?
And no one's listening. It's not a way I don't think a democratic society should run. So, taxes on tampons, undemocratic.
So what's so different about you?
I got my first period today.
So what's the big deal?
It means that blood is flowing out of my uterus.
So we have some fast facts.
Fast facts.
Fast facts.
You want me to
Go. You start.
some fast facts. Fast facts.
Fast facts.
I'll say it really fast. No, I won't. I'm just going to say it normally. Kenya was the first country in the world to get rid of taxes on menstrual prices. Woohoo!
Go Kenya.
Get it, Kenya. Suck it.
Ireland has no taxes on menstrual products.
Surprising.
Which was, considering their policies are kind of terrible.
Right.
When it comes to abortion, but
Slovakia has a tax rate of 20% on menstrual items, which is the normal basic goods rate.
So it's basically the same as here, except that their sales tax is super, super, super high.
20% is a lot.
20% is a lot of money. So those are some fun facts.
I don't understand what they expect people to do if, for instance, low-income families cannot afford menstrual products, but you don't want us walking around with a blood stain on the back of our pants.
That's the real question here. Like, what's the alternative? Are we going back to like the days of the red tent? Are we all going to go like fucking sit on the toilet for 5 days and wait? I mean, women have to work.
This is also something that I would like to do more research on, that I would like to go into another time. But I mean, there are places, we're talking about the U.S., but there are places where women aren't going to school because they don't have product and because they're taught to be ashamed of menstruation. And so they can't go to school for days at a time, which essentially takes away their education.
Right. And we've all learned that one of the best signifiers of a country's success is the rate of education of women and girls. And as women and girls become more educated, the trajectory of the country does better. And so this is beyond just like an issue of comfort. It's actually about economic growth, which is the thing that seems to be the only thing that matters to anybody. So
forget women. Maybe you'll listen to the fact that it helps your economy.
Cha-ching, cha-ching. And then as of November of 2017, which was just mere days ago, there are 9 states that have exempted menstrual products from sales tax entirely. So those states are Connecticut, Florida, Illinois, Maryland, Massachusetts, Minnesota, New Jersey.
See, everybody was fucking with Jersey, but Jersey's the tits.
We got it. New York and Pennsylvania.
Yeah, what's up?
And I would just like to go ahead and say for all those listeners out there that the East Coast is very heavily represented here. So the rest of you guys could follow along. That would be great.
Get in.
That would be great.
Get it together. Get your shit together.
So, I mean, I think that we can probably agree that we both think that menstrual products should be free.
I mean, it'd be ideal if they were free.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Again, if men had it, they'd be in gumball machines.
Right?
Yeah. Just
That'd be
just
awesome. Like
OB
you go to
coming
the
out.
you go to the diner in Jersey, you know, you like go out for some disco fries with your friends, and on the way back you put 25 cents in, turn the thing and out. You know, you don't know what you're gonna get. What are you gonna get?
Super or light?
Thank you for listening to Welcome to My Vagina.
It's time for us to slide on out of here. You like that?
You. We would like to thank our super duper producer, Caitlin Moldenhauer of More Banana Productions, for producing us, hosting us, and for helping us reach our goals.
I know this because in her day planner it says, help Jessy reach her goals. Best cheerleader ever. Please check out franklyrebekah.com, where Rebekah slays you, politically smacks you, and reminds any misogynist to sit down and shut up because she's smarter than you. That's a fact that I support.
Please also check us out at welcometomyvagina.com. Check out our latest videos on YouTube. Find us on Instagram at Welcome to My Vagina and Twitter at Welcome to My Vag.
Thank you so much for listening, and we are stoked to prick your ears in 2 weeks. Bye!
Bye!